Hello and welcome. My name is Marta, and today I am going to be making a creepy wall curio shelf. To start, I'm going to be using DIY chalk paint in black velvet. I water it down a little bit, mix it in with a little water to not have it so thick, and I give it a good coat, just one really, because I don't need it to be perfect. Now, I've had this wall shelf pretty much my whole life. I grew up with it. It comes from a collection called the Woodmouse Family, and it's these little porcelain Victorian mouse figurines, and I had it in my room growing up, and my mother actually repainted it, and now I'm repainting it and kind of revamping it because it's been in my attic forever and I felt like it needed a new facelift. So here I'm using DIY Old and Gray Barnwood Patina, and it's just to kind of age the sides of the little house and the roof. I don't use it anywhere else other than that. And I'm just showing you how it looks in the end once it's dried, because you can't really see it the rest of the recording. So the next step is sealing up the chalk paint, and I am using Rust-Oleum chalked matte finish to seal it up and give it a good coat all around. Here I'm just going to show you the finished product. It's not perfect. Some of the paint did rub off a bit on the brush, but it's no big deal. So here I'm going to show you the product. I'm going to be Mod Podging floors and walls to this little house. These are from Decoupage Queen. I got them in miltonsdaughter.com. They are awesome. They're very large. Some are small. I only use a few of them. I don't end up using every one of them. And this is from Recollections Dark Academia. I thrifted this for like a couple bucks. It's awesome. And I'm just going to show you the two papers I'm using for the walls. Here's one. It's like a little bookshelf. And the second one, which is a gallery wall, my favorite. So for the floor, I am going to actually just use this one. It's big enough for all of it, I believe. And I was right. It's called Fairy Harlequin from Decoupage Queen. I eyeball everything. I'm pretty good at proportions, so I don't really use a ruler. Some people do, which is totally fine. My method is a little different. I just sometimes fold and pinch where I'm going to cut, and that's how I roll. So now that I have everything cut, I am going to start Mod Podging the floor to the paper to the floor. And I'm using matte finished Mod Podge here. Now everything is black in the background, so it's going to darken this paper up a bit, which is kind of the look I was going for. I wanted kind of underground, grungy looking basement creepiness. But if you wanted this to be more vibrant, I would paint it. I would have left it white if I wanted it more vibrant, actually, like the little white squares to contrast out better. So here's the end result, and now I'm just going to take my little finger sander here, and I'm just going to sand all the edges to get the little overlapping paper off of the shelf. Now I'm ready for the walls, and I am using this paper called Gothic Damask, also from Decoupage Queen. And I am doing very much a similar protocol as the floor. I am just pinching where I kind of eyeball measuring and I just cut, and then obviously apply the Mod Podge first and then stick it on and then give it a good coat on top so that it seals. And that is what I do for each section of the little house. And here's the end result. I think it looks great. So now I'm going to make a design for the top part of the little house. I drew a little design on tracing paper from a Memento Mori grave, and I am just retracing it back onto that little, I guess, that little attic area. And I am basically just getting my pencil. You can sort of see it there, the little pencil marks just to guide me. And now I'm taking a silver Sharpie and I'm just going to go over all those lines, and I think it pops out really nicely. I wanted to give this little house kind of a gravestone feel, and I always loved this design from Memento Mori. Back in the day, I feel like the gravestones were so much more ornate and gorgeous, and anyway, I think I just really would have loved to live back in the day. I know there's a lot of things I would have missed from these times, but I think just the artwork alone, looking at everything and how detailed everything was, just, it makes my heart sing. Here I'm just filling in with some little stars. And then I took a page off my mom's book and highlighted the staircase, except this time it's with silver instead of gold. And I think it definitely made it pop out a lot more. Now I'm going to show you what I'm going to use to fill the little shelves. I got this little Palmistry palm from Amazon. I will link it below. Some spiders from Michaels, centipedes, worms from Michaels. And these little books I got from Temu, they're so cool. Every page is filled with like a little drawing, like a little, anyway, they're awesome. I only end up using 2, but hey, they are great. I got these little bottles at the Dollar Tree. There's different sizes. Some are really short, some are really tall. And then these little witch cauldrons I thrifted. And I believe in the Dollar Tree you can get them too. And those little bones I also got at the Dollar Tree. This little garland, skeleton garland, I got from Michaels, the Ashland line. And I like them because their shoulders and their legs move. The tarantulas are from the Dollar Tree. I got these little glass vial specimens from a store on Etsy. That one is a snapdragon seed pod, looks like little skulls. This is a lily of the valley. And this one's a datura moonflower seed pod. The little vial is also a snapdragon seed pod, which they look like little skulls, are really cool. That store is pretty cool. I'll link it below. They have a lot of cool stuff there. This next thing is a little mixed bag I got at a thrift store, and I am using this little kitschy kitten for the display. And here I go. I am just kind of playing around here with where I want my little skeletons and some stuff. Now I'm getting ready to paint the little kitten. I'm using DIY little black dress again. Also using the same paint, the DIY little black dress, I am painting the little cauldron. Now I want to paint the pumpkin, and I'm going to be using Waverly Chalk Paint in Pumpkin, Waverly Antique Wax, Waverly Chalk Paint in Moss, and also Waverly Chalk Paint in Hazelnut. I do 2 coats of the pumpkin color for the base of the pumpkin, and for the stem, I use the moss and a little bit of the hazelnut. Then I use the antique wax on the ridges of the pumpkin to kind of give it some depth. I don't know what happened to that footage. So now I'm using gold leaf rub and buff on the little cauldron, also to give it some depth. And with a little teeny paintbrush, I am going to be using the rub and buff on the kitten's eyes, nose, ears, and a little bit around the paws and tail. And this is how the little pumpkin turned out. Next, I take that Waverly Antique Wax and I am just going to paint over all the little skeletons to age them up a bit. So now is the fun part. I'm going to be positioning the little skeletons, and I am cutting the little legs and arms and basically where we have joints, and I'm repositioning them and hot gluing them to how I want them sitting or standing or whatever posture that I want them in. This one's going to be sitting, holding a little bottle. I'm going to have another one laying down. You'll see me doing that one. I don't show the whole footage for everything, but one's going to be hanging upside down and the other one's going to kind of be just sitting back with his leg up. It was fairly easy to position them. Just I wish I would have had better hot glue. I definitely recommend a higher quality hot glue than the one I was using. I had like a cheapy one and it kept on like coming off and I had to re-glue it constantly. Anyway, you live and learn. This is the little guy that I make lay down with his little feet up. He's going to be reading a book, like how we would be laying on the floor reading a book. So now I am going to be making a little witch hat for the kitten. I don't know what I did with my black construction paper, but it's much better if you use that. I'm using a black page from that Recollections pad that I got the wallpaper from. I just cut a little corner and I'm just rolling it up. I'm gonna hot glue it together, and then I'm gonna cut a little circle out for the bottom of the hat. And I kind of cut like a little X in the middle just so that I could cut a little circle out in the middle so that it can sit to the side of the cat's head. I apologize for my odd camera angles. I am new to this and am hopefully going to be improving every video as I go. Now I'm going to use a black Sharpie to cover up all the little white areas of the hat. Now, if you had the black construction paper, you wouldn't have to do this, but I had to use what I had. So I'm going to color the inside of the brim. Now I'm gonna just take a little piece of this smoky kind of gray ribbon I had, and I'm just gonna exit along the brim of the hat there. And here's the end result. So next I am going to take this DIY clear wax for the little kitten to seal up the chalk paint, and then after that I will be using the gold leaf rub and buff on the little centipedes and the little spiders, little bugs that I'm using. These little paper mushrooms I got at Michael's for very cheap. They were on clearance. I am going to be using the Waverly chalk paint in moss and also in hazelnut to paint the little tops of these guys. I really just give them just one good quick coat, and then I dab hazelnut color over the moss just to give it a little, so it's not such a flat color. After that, I will take the gold leaf rub and buff and just do the little flecks you normally see that are white on the mushrooms. I'm making them gold, and I take my finger and rub it along the edge of the mushroom as well. And I do this to all the mushrooms. I'm just showing it on one here, but I do it to all of them. So I'm going to add a little bow to the kitten. It has a little metal loop under its chin, perfect for a bow. So I'm just going to fish along the same ribbon I used for the hat. I'm fishing it along. And then to make the bow face down, I tie the bow upside down. Now I'm just going to hot glue the hat to the little kitten off to the side there, and isn't she darling? Now it's the fun part of just figuring out where I want the bugs, the little mushrooms and whatnot, the little bottles. I'm kind of playing around with the combinations to see how I want it to end up. Once I figure out where I want everything, I start gluing everything down with hot glue. And you'll see I'm going to knock the little skeleton leg over, and it's gonna come apart. And here I'm trying to fix it, and it comes apart again. Anyway, cheap glue. Get good glue. I decided that the pumpkin needed a face. Should have decided that earlier. It would have been a lot easier to paint it. But anyway, I'm taking a little Sharpie and coloring in the little eyes and mouth and nose of the pumpkin. Here I'm taking some little tea lights. I figured it needed some lighting. I should have used fairy lights in retrospect, but it would be a nightmare to add them right now. So I'm just using some framing putty, I believe it's called, to stick it to the ceiling and not use glue. The idea was so that I could change batteries out when needed. I'm using reindeer moss to fill in the gaps in the little corners, ceilings, and just to make it look a little more dark and decrepit. Here I'm taking that Waverly Antique Wax again, and I'm just using a couple of the bones to strew around, and I'm antiquing them. And now, from an old paperback book that I had that was partly chewed by my puppy, I am making little scrolls because I figured the library needs some scrolls, and what's more mysterious and cool than little scrolls laying around on a curio shelf. I tied them using the twine from the garland of the skeletons. Now, using these little molds I got at Amazon, I want to add little bat wings to this upside down skeleton. So I am going to use hot glue for them instead of air dry clay. I'm just going to give it a good amount of hot glue here, and then once it dries, pop them out. There was a little bit of some like little tabs, or I don't know how to explain it, but I just get my little X-Acto blade and just cut them off there. Now I'm getting ready to paint them. I'm using Waverly chalk paint in ink and in Snow White. I mix them to make a gray. I wish I would have made a lighter gray to contrast the wings a little more, but whatever. It turns out really cool. Here I'm using matte Mod Podge to seal it up. And then I get the silver Sharpie and just go over the little veiny parts of the wing to give it also more contrast. After this, I glue them. I hot glue them to the back of the little skeleton using my bigger hot glue with much better quality glued sticks. I decided to order better tea lights from Amazon that had a remote control. The only problem was that the wicks were a little long, so I stuck them onto the wall instead of the ceiling.